Hey everyone, Jeff Johnson along with Jeff Linder here to talk a little bit of hoops at you on a beautiful snowy Thursday afternoon in Cedar Rapids. So, Jeff, how's it going? Hawks with another convincing win last night, right?
Yeah, they've taken care of business against the bottom teams in the Big Ten. They've done a really good job with that, winning and winning big. I think it was 91-61 last night over Wisconsin. I believe that's 27 or 28 straight wins against Wisconsin.
Wow.
Believe it or not, I haven't lost to them since I think 2007.
Wow.
So instead of on Wisconsin, I guess it's own Wisconsin, and that's what the Hawkeyes do.
Good game in Indiana last week. We haven't talked since then. Exciting game. Just Iowa just came up a little bit short, huh?
A little bit short against a really, really good team in a really good atmosphere, good environment. You've probably been to Assembly Hall, so in your years with the Hawks, it's a fun place.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah,
It's got a
the big news. Speaking of Iowa, Indiana, the rematch here is February 26th. It's long since been a sellout, and today ESPN announced that College Game Day will be coming to Carver on the 26th.
Very nice. Very nice. All kinds of nice things for associated with the women's program this season. It's been something. It's been something. So let's turn over to the high school part of things here, Jeff. You got a little bit more of the postseason played so far. I think you were at Alburnett the other night. Is that
I was
accurate?
at Alburnett 2 nights ago and at Vinton last night. At Alburnett on Tuesday, Jessup beat Alburnett. I think it was 64-45. First glance of Lainey Pilcher of Jessup, really nice player, good guard. I think she had 25 points and 18 rebounds and I think 8 steals. So that's a really quality line for her. Alburnett was without their best post in Allie Olmstead, and that made a big difference. She's a really handy shot blocker and rebounder. But the other posts they have, Lacey Neighbor had 20 points and 25 rebounds, and the 25
Wow.
rebounds were a school record. So she most certainly did her part.
Anything anything really surprising in the early going so far especially in the smaller school or smaller
Um,
classes, I guess, or not really?
yeah, not hugely surprising. On paper, Edco's win over number 10 Elkader Central on Tuesday was a surprise, 61-49. West Branch, which entered the postseason with 5 wins, they're still going. They've beaten Lisbon and East Buchanan on consecutive days and kind of showing the power of the River Valley North, or I'm sorry, River Valley South. So that's those have been a couple things, but nothing that really blows your socks off.
How about the bigger schools? When do they get going? What do you got coming up here with
There
that?
were some kind of pigtail games yesterday in 5A, 4A regional quarterfinals. Jefferson beat Washington bad. I think it was 56-20. Marion handled Clinton, so they'll play Xavier on Saturday in a regional semi. And that's kind of where we're at there. Regional semis are tomorrow in 1A and 2A, Saturday in 4A and 5A, and regional finals are Saturday in 3A. And we'll be covering at least one of the 3A regional finals on Saturday.
Was there anything tonight that on the
Nope.
girls' side?
Tonight was a dead night anyway.
They're
So
playing.
yeah, from the girls' sake, let her rip out there tonight.
On the boys' side, there was supposed to be a batch of Class 1A and 2A district games, semifinals, I believe we're in the round at in the smaller two classes. But obviously, most all of those have been postponed as have the bigger schools around here. We're supposed to have one more regular season game, and those have been most all those have been canceled with the postseason coming up for 3A and 4A on Monday. And I guess that officially clinches Cedar Rapids Kennedy's first ever perfect regular season. They had their game tonight against Waterloo East, or its game tonight against Waterloo East, canceled. So, Cougars accomplishing a couple of firsts this season. A first ever regular season, unbeaten, and first time going through the Mississippi Valley Conference on the boys' side without a loss. So,
Yeah, and that's with a tradition like they've had with the championship teams in what, 84, and did they win another one like in the late
yeah,
70s shortly after they
1972. Yep, 72 and 84, and
Mhm.
talked to Jeff Rubis, who's an assistant coach for this boys or for this Kennedy team, and he played on the '84 championship team. Was an All-State player, and he said I couldn't remember. That was the year I graduated, but I couldn't totally remember. It was they lost 3 games that season. Lost at Prairie, and I don't know if you remember the old gym. Well, it's still there. The old gym at Prairie was
Yeah.
about as big as my front yard, probably, if that. They lost there. They lost to Regis, and Dubuque Waller got them that in '84, the year that they ended up winning the state championship. In 1972, I talked to Larry Williams, who was playing for Washington at that time. He's another assistant coach at Kennedy, and he said the '72 Kennedy team he figured lost at least 5 games, and then what
Okay.
ended up going on and winning a state championship. So
So Linmar didn't beat Kennedy in 84. They just played the one time, and
yeah,
then they played once and then played again in the sub-state game at Carver, right?
yeah, they played once at the what was then the Five Season Center, in front of a pretty much a sellout crowd. I remember being there. It was a doubleheader. I want to say maybe Jeff and Wash played the first game. I might be wrong on that, but and then Kennedy and Livermore played the second game, and Kennedy won that one, and then they ended up playing at Carver Hawkeye Arena in the sub-state final, and Kennedy won to go to the state tournament that year. So. Yeah, that was couple of years ago. Couple of
Yeah.
years ago. But
And that
stuff
that
goes.
was that was a time when boys basketball was really good in the Metro. Kennedy was good, Linmar was good, Regis was very good. You know more about it than I do, obviously, but there was some good basketball then.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to another time, the last Metro team to go through the regular season undefeated on the boys' side was Linmar in 2010-11. Speaking of a era where there were so many great players, that Linmar team, that
Mhm.
was Marcus Page as a junior, and Matt Bohannon, who we all know went on to have a great career at UNI. He was a senior that season, and that was an era where there were so many D1 players around town. Utah, Oglesby, Washburn, up and down the line. So and Linmore was the best of them all back then
Mhm.
in 10-11. So we'll see if what Kennedy can do. They had a big win last Saturday night over number 4 West Des Moines Valley at West Des Moines Valley, which was kind of a prove it type of game, even though Valley was without its standout point guard Curtis Stinson Jr., son of the former Iowa State player. He didn't play; he was injured with an ankle. So still a good win anytime you go over there and beat one of the big dogs in Central Iowa. That's a statement win for Kennedy, and yeah, now we'll see. They have about a week off before they have to play again, and we'll see if the Cougars can keep this perfect streak going into the postseason, and obviously they hope into the state tournament. So
Do they have much resistance in their sub-state or no?
no, that Kennedy was, they kind of protected the top 4, I'd say, as best they could. I don't know if protected is the best word to use, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Kennedy's got a path that it can negotiate itself through, and a lot of new teams. I think there's some MAC teams in there, so it won't be one of those deals where they'll be playing. It'll be playing, schools that it's already played, 2-3 times already this season.
Mhm.
So, it's interesting. Waukee Northwest Valley was basically the top 8 in this week's rankings that got top sub-state seeds, and in 4A and 3A. And it was interesting too. You look at there's 16 substates in 4A, and your 3 seeds, there are a couple of 3 seeds from the CIML, teams with losing records, and that's tells you what what everyone thinks about the CIML. Southeast Polk, I think, is like 8-14 or something like that, and we got a 3 seed in one of the substates.
Mm-hmm.
But they're playing Waukee, Northwest Valley, Dowling, every
Yeah.
game. So just the way it worked out, and I think the association did a real nice job, Todd Tharp, of putting together brackets. Not, I know that might sound a little glad handing, but I thought he did a nice job in all 4 classes. Keep it in mind, of course, geography uh, is always gonna be at the forefront
Mm-hmm.
of what's going on
Did
there.
did
So
your committees have any say in how they put the brackets together, or was that just an association thing?
yeah, no, it was just we rank. They kind of use that as their guide. As best they could to try and protect, again, they use that word, to protect those teams and give them a decent shot at getting to the state tournament. But from what I understand, now we've got one more set of rankings for 3A and 4A next week, and then once those are set, 1A, 2A is already done. They're going to use those when it gets time to put together brackets for the state tournament.
Okay.
Uh, they'll take those 10 teams, and that's, if the 8 qualifiers come from those 10 teams, it'll be simple. You'll know
Yep.
your bracket right then and there. It'll all be according to ranking, and if it doesn't work out that way, then apparently the committee gets back together with the IHSAA, and if there's a couple of teams that aren't ranked that make the state tournament, then I guess it's there's going to be a discussion on who everyone thinks is the better of those teams, and
Who
rank
the
them one,
7 and
two,
the
or
8
whatever.
seed are probably,
Yeah,
or something like
yeah,
that.
exactly. So it's not like they're really creating too much there, but yeah, that's how it works. So
Okay.
what else you got there, Jeffrey?
Oh boy. Well, like I told you what's going on the last couple of days of this week, with the assumption that the roads improve tomorrow. I think they will. And then Monday and Tuesday, I'm sorry, Tuesday and Wednesday, we've got regional finals for I think Tuesday is 5A and 4A, and I believe Wednesday is 1A and 2A. So we're coming down the stretch. First all conference teams came out with the Upper Iowa today. The Upper Iowa, which is actually all out of teams already. They didn't even get anybody into the
Wow,
regional semifinals.
wow.
So they announced their all conference teams, and just here we go.
Any guesses what you're going to have for a number of teams right now?
Oh boy.
Ballpark it.
We I would say we would be doing well to have one in 5A. I'm not sure who it would be. We don't have a number one seed in any of the regionals. Like an Iowa City West or a Liberty or a Linn-Mar would probably have a chance to break through against a 1 seed in a regional final. So I would say one would be, doing well in 5A. 4A, I think, Xavier's got a good shot. Clear Creek's got a chance. Decorah's got a good chance, so we could have 2 or 3 there. 3A, we're guaranteed 2 teams in either Mount Vernon or Solon, and either Benton or West Liberty, and then Vinton Shellsburg goes to Grinnell. 2A, let's see. Cascade's got a good chance. Regina's got a good chance. I'd say they're a pair of favorites. 1A, I think North Lynn's probably a fairly heavy favorite to get in, and that might be it, unless somebody like a Mac Valley or an Edco can knock off West Fork in a substate or a regional final. So I didn't do the net math. Maybe I think we had 12 last year,
Okay.
and I think 3 of them won their first game.
Okay.
So it went from really, really busy to not busy at all in a hurry at state last year. So I would say probably 8 to 10. How about you?
It's a lot to be determined.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't even guess. I think we might just have one in 4A. Honestly, in Kennedy. Everybody else is I'm trying to think here. I think everybody else in 4A and from the Metro from Iowa City are 3 seeds or lower.
Mhm.
So it would take an upset or two for us to get more than you know than Kennedy. Thinking Kennedy certainly would get there. And Xavier and Marion, Xavier got put into a pretty tough substate, even though it was a 1 seed in its 3A there. It's Assumption's in there with it. Wallert's in there. Western Dubuque from the Mississippi Valley Conference. So not sure that Coach Mike Freeman was real pleased with with what he saw there. Marion's going to have a tough road, obviously. Those are 8-team substates in 3A, and 2A, 1A. You got to figure, North Lynn would be a favorite to head back to Des Moines, obviously, though it's a good Wapsie Valley team that it could face at some point here in the tournament trail. And we'll have to wait and see 2A. I mean, there's a lot of certainly we'll get a couple there, just a matter of who it is. You would think, although like Alburnett, which is ranked, and Monticello, which has been to state 3 years in a row, and they're all kind of bunched together in one sub-state with Appleton Parkersburg, which is one of the top 2, 3, 4 teams in 2A. So uh,
If you had to point out a dark horse in any class or more than one dark horse team with that maybe isn't a 1 seed or maybe not even a 2 that, you know, maybe other teams aren't wild about seeing in their bracket. Who would you say who might break through that you'd call a surprise?
man, I look at that Mount Vernon team, Jeff, that in 3A, it's in there with Marion, Vinton, Shellsburg, Western Dubuque, Crestwood, Decorah, Independence, and then there's Charles City, which is a real good team. But Mount Vernon is here in the last month has beaten Marion, beaten Xavier. The other night beat Waverly Shell Rock, which was ranked in the top 10. That's a team that's really dangerous, and we all know obviously a bunch of athletes from the football team that play, basketball as well. So that's a dangerous team. And I don't know. In 4A, I look at Cedar Rapids, Washington, which has won 9 out of 10. It's had a couple of real nice come from behind wins, beat Dubuque Senior a couple of weeks ago, which is ranked in the top 10, beat Iowa City West last week after being down like 13 or 14. That's a team that's interesting to me just from the standpoint that it's hot, it's playing its best basketball. It's a very senior dominated team that kids that have been around and started for 3 years and 4 years in some case, like Trajan Sane, who's a tremendous player, just went over 1,000 points for his career. So those just two off the top of my head, and they're right here in Lynn County that might be flying under the radar a little bit as we go along. So
Gotcha. Gotcha. So the Thursday games, tonight's games that are being moved to Friday, I assume they're being moved to Friday. So are there going to be some small school games tomorrow then?
and in 2A, district games will be tomorrow. Again, I assume that all the regular season games that were supposed to be played tonight for the big schools will just be canceled since a lot of those teams will be playing right away on Monday. But yeah, looks like everything tonight tomorrow goes to tomorrow, and then Monday we start ratcheting it up with games pretty much every night. So
Yeah.
I see some games have been pushed back to to Saturday on the 1A side. It looks
Okay.
like. So
Well, that maybe they're just moving those over 2 days, to
yeah.
leapfrog the girls' games, because the Northland Cal Wheat girls' game is still down for a 7 o'clock tip tomorrow.
Okay. All right. All right. Is that where you're going to be?
No, I'm actually gonna go to Montezuma.
Okay.
I've got Springville, which is vastly better than I thought it was going to be this year. They lost about 2/3 of their scoring from a state tournament team last year, lost a lot of their really good players, and here they are. They're 19-4, I believe, with kind of a new group, and they play a 19-3 Montezuma team tomorrow over at Montezuma. So, I think that'll be that. I think that's probably the best game in the area tomorrow, and we're going to make the trip if weather allows.
All right. Anything else you want to hit before we sign off here?
I would say we've probably hit it hard enough for today. We can do this one more week. This time next week, we'll have the girls' field to be set, and you'll be getting a lot closer to having, you'll probably be at about the substate semifinals or finals point this time next week, won't you?
Yeah, it'll be, they're pushing right through it, aren't they, Lindy? Pushing right through it. So
pushing through it like a snowplow.
Which reminds me, I'm heading outside, so I guess I better sign off. I don't want to get yelled at. So
yeah, that's that's good motivation.
Hey, thanks for joining us, folks. Talk a little bit of hoops here on our weekly podcast. For Jeff Linder, this is Jeff Johnson saying thank you. Thank you for following and reading us, and reach out to us anytime. We love to communicate with you. Everybody have a good week, and we'll talk at you next week.